Alright guys, I'm going to teach you today how to solve quadratic equations. So quadratic equations could be in any of these forms, okay? So in the general form of quadratic, so this is what we call the general form, ax squared plus bx plus c, or it could be in vectored form. So we usually want to be able to find solutions to quadratics. So here's a really easy one. X squared equals 9. That's a quadratic. So you know that when you square root both sides, x is equal to positive 3 and negative 3. So you're going to get two solutions, and that's usually what happens when we solve quadratic equations. A lot of the time we get two solutions. So how could I solve this? So I've got x minus 4 in one bracket, multiplied by x plus 5 in the other bracket, and that equals 0. Well, in here is a multiplication, so this is obviously the product of two factors, and if they multiply to 0, well, what does that mean? That means that either x minus 4 equals 0, or x plus 5 equals 0. So you can see how we're going to get two solutions. So if x minus 4 equals 0, then x is 4, or x is negative 5. And let's see how that works. Let's put 4 back in. 4, take away 4 in the first bracket, well, that's 0, multiplied by 4 plus 5, so 0 times 9 equals 0. So x equals 4 is a solution. And in green, what about when x is negative 5? Well, here we're going to get negative 9 in this bracket, multiplied by what's negative 5 plus 5? Well, it's 0. And anything times 0 is 0. So x equals negative 5 is a solution. So basically, to solve a quadratic equation, if it's in factored form, just solve each bracket for 0. So this one, 3x minus 2 equals 0 is one solution. So add 2 and then divide by 3. So there's one solution. X is 2/3. The other solution would be when this bracket is equal to 0. 2x plus 5 equals 0. Subtract the 5 and divide by 2. Negative 5 over 2. There are our two solutions. They're a little harder to plug back in and check, but we did solve those in the correct way. So do we notice a pattern that's happening yet? Well, when it's a simple quadratic like question 1, where we've just got a bracket x minus 4 and a bracket x plus 5, well, it's just the opposite sign must be the solution. So 4 and negative 5. For the second one, with a more complicated set of brackets, 3x minus 2, well, the solution there is obviously positive 2 divided by 3, because inside the bracket is just a simple linear equation. For 2x plus 5, well, it's negative 5 divided by 2. So it's all about the opposite sign, and if there's another number on the x inside the bracket, well, it's just going to be the positive constant divided by that. But that's getting a little complicated. So the other time that you'll be asked to solve a quadratic equation is when it's in this generalized form. So we have to get it to factored form, then we can solve. It's too hard to solve this straight away unless you're using something called the quadratic formula, but we'll get to that another time. So we need this in factored form. So I'm looking for numbers that multiply to 60 but add to positive 19. So 4 and 15. Still equals 0 because all I've done is factorized it. I haven't actually changed the equation. So now it's x plus 4, x plus 15 equals 0. Right, so now I need to solve. Looking at the pattern, it's just going to be the opposite sign. X is negative 4, x is negative 15. There are my two solutions just straight away. So the biggest test for solving quadratic equations is just going to be going back to factorising, then solving. So I've got 8 for us to have a go at. So you could pause the video there, write down your solutions to these 8, and then hit resume, and you're going to see me go through it. I'm going to go through this quite quickly. So question 1, we have x is negative 7, x is 3. So just the opposite signs, we'll solve that. So 3 minus 3 is 0, so that works, and negative 7 plus 7 is 0, so that's also going to multiply out to be 0. So question 2, x plus 2 in brackets times x minus 5 in brackets. The solutions are negative 2 and 5. Question 3, x minus 3 all squared equals 0. Well, the only number squared to give 0 would be 0 itself. So how can this be 0? Well, only when x is 3. There's no other solutions. If this was a double bracket, because it's x minus 3 squared, well, still only positive 3 would make this go to 0. So only one solution there. Question 4, so I've got x multiplied by x minus 1. One solution is obviously x equals 1, but a lot of people forget that this bracket, this non-bracket, should I say, this x, well, it could be 0, and it would solve as well, because then it would be 0 multiplied by anything. So just remember that any x by itself would also be a solution of 0. Question 5, x is 4, is obviously solves that first bracket, and x is negative 4, solves the second bracket, because 4 plus negative 4 is 0. Question 6, well, that's fractions, a half and a negative a half and positive 2/3 in those brackets. Just opposite signs will work. So x is a half, and x is negative 2/3. Question 7, one solution is obviously minus 5 over 2, or negative 5 over 2, shall I say. And even though there's a 7 on there, 7 times 0 times anything is still going to be 0. So x is 0. That's just like question 4. And just like question 8, x equals 0 is obviously going to be a solution, and x equals positive 2 over 3 is also a solution. Let me know how you get on.